What's going on, everyone? My name is Tom from Dreadlabs, and today I'm going to answer your questions.
Dreadlabs.
Alright, where to begin? It's been a crazy month. Probably for you as well if you participated in the Creatober challenge. If you do not know, in the past month I posted 31 creations that I made for every day of the month October. This is the second year we've done this challenge, and it was pretty hectic. I had to plan ahead a lot because I actually went on holiday between the 25th and the 31st. But during the month of October I reached 30,000 subscribers, which is unreal. That's basically the only thing that I can say. And I know I keep saying this with every milestone we hit, and the first Q&A video that I did was last year when I hit 1K subscribers. Yeah, to say that there's 30 times more people watching my videos and being subscribed to my channel at this point in time is just crazy to me. It's been a crazy journey for Dreadlabs so far, and I am so hyped for the future. I'm just so enthusiastic and to show you guys what's there for the future. But for today's video I wanted to do something different because this is the second time I'm doing a Q&A video, like I said earlier. The first one that I did was when I reached 1K subscribers. I think this was about, by the end of last year's summer, something like that. I asked you guys on Instagram and on YouTube to submit your questions. So yeah, I figure let's just dive into them, alright? So Jack, one of my best friends, is asking, when will there be a Dreadlabs HQ? Yeah, if you watched a lot of my live streams or like stories of the past, you know that there's a Dreadlabs like office in the works. So the good news is it's still in the works, but the bad news is there's a bit of a delay. And obviously these types of things tend to happen when like working with real estate or whatever. At this point in time, there's still like a lot of preparation going into the building where I will be renting an office space and a recording studio. On what it's looking like right now, it will be around the beginning of next year somewhere. So that's still like in the works, and there's no certainty that it will be then, but that's an estimate I got given. Just to give you information about what the Dreadlabs office will be doing. Well, first of all, I will be working there, of course. This will be the office where I, probably together with a few interns, will be working on Dreadlabs all day. Recording videos, doing like behind the scenes stuff as well, like video editing, keeping the webshop live, making new assets, basically making new content for you guys. So on top of that, the recording studio will also function as a music studio where me and like other people can make music, you know, record their own music. And the cool thing is, something that I really have planned and wanting to do for a long time now is get Dreadlabs in a physical space. And I want to incorporate this into the Dreadlabs offices by doing like a monthly thing where it's an open office. So during the afternoon we can still keep working, but people are allowed to pop in and say hi, basically turning the workplace into kind of like a network drinks party kind of thing. You know, so if you're being creative and you would be in the neighborhood, you would be able to join in and talk to us. Yeah, basically that, you know, and it will be like a casual thing, so if there won't be any people dropping by, we will just continue working. So yeah, that's basically what the idea is behind this. But obviously, because the office is still in the works, it still takes a while for this all to get around. So yeah, I still have to be a little bit patient. You guys probably as well. Once it's finally there, you can guarantee that Dreadlabs will go like to the roof in production. Beamer Boy on Instagram is asking, how long does it take to create a song cover, mock-ups and all? So I'm guessing this is about like a album cover only, not like a cover of a song musically. So it really depends on how long it takes for me to do an album cover, for a few reasons. There's obviously different softwares that you have to incorporate. There is also sometimes where you have to do something physical, like the cover needs to be like a painting, or you need to scan in some physical things, do photography, stuff like that. So yeah, there's a wide variety on how long it would take, but in general, like the time that I would be working on it as a designer, so not as a photographer or an illustrator or whatever, I think that would be like around 8 hours in general. So like a full working day. And then sometimes the clients obviously have revisions, stuff that needs to be added or deleted. But yeah, to give you a general estimate, around one full workday would be normal. This would be split up between multiple days. So for example, I would send in the first proposal after 4 hours. And after these 4 hours, we got some revisions from the client and we tried to fix it within the next 4 hours. Yeah, just to give you an estimate. And as Lupus, well, they came with a kind of like a two-part question. They sent in two questions, one, so I tried to answer them in one go because the topic is the same. So the first question is, can a mobile device really do digital art? And the next question is, are mobile designers, especially phone users, do they really exist, and are they underrated? So from what I've seen and what I've heard, like There are more and more people designing on their phones popping up. But there's a really fun phrasing that this person already used, which differentiates the two. In the first question, they're talking about digital art, and in the next question, they're talking about designers. So one thing that you kind of have to keep in mind here, even if it doesn't look like it, because we mostly do album covers, there's a very big difference between digital artists and designers. For example, most graphic designers are utility based, and that means that your design has to have a purpose. The initial reason why posters exist aren't for aesthetic purposes. I know that you can buy prints online for aesthetic purposes, but initially posters were made to give information. Same goes for icons, for example. So there's a difference between graphic design and digital art. So for graphic designers, I would say, as long as you can deliver your works to your client in a proper way, and what I mean by that is deliver your logo in a vector format. Make sure that all of the imagery that you deliver isn't compressed because it's on your phone, so export it in a good way. Then I would say, okay, yeah, you can be a designer on your mobile phone. However, because I'm not experienced as a mobile designer, I'm not sure if you are capable of delivering that. Then again, also because you have to be really detail oriented, I figure it would be better to work on a bigger screen and have more control with a mouse and keyboard or other tools like a pen tablet than when working with your thumbs on the phone. That's just me, and I think that feels just like a little bit better. But then again, can a mobile device really do digital art? Definitely. And that's because digital art doesn't have any necessary boundaries or a threshold that you have to go over to call it digital art. If something is art and it's digital, then it's art. It's as simple as that. And yes, you can work on something like for a really long time, and that can still come out as art, maybe ugly art or beautiful art. It doesn't really matter, So yeah, that's where I basically make a big difference, Also, digital art, in my opinion, is more aesthetic based. So for example, you can make money as a digital artist by selling prints, NFTs. You get like fans, I guess, almost. Whereas the designer, you work for a client, and the client needs utility-based stuff. For example, social media assets, prints, logos in vector format, So yeah, you have to try to differentiate the two, and then consider that digital art doesn't necessarily have to be done on a very good computer or whatever, So yeah, I hope this answers your question. Alright, Matt Burm is saying, do you miss DJing? I've been DJing for over 10 years now. I got my first legitimate DJ control panel when I was like 14 or something. I'm 25 now. And I've always been involved into music, which also got me into graphic design as well. I did a little bit of design before I did music. Being an artist, producing your own tracks, designing your own album covers and social media assets kind of got me drawn back into it. Then I got into designing flyers for events again. Blah, blah, blah. Long story short, I really like to combine the two, but in 2018, 2019, something like that, I made the decision to go like design and try to do it as a profession, while simultaneously giving up on my like dream to become a famous DJ and actually try to make that into my career. That has been bothering me for a long time, but like after like a year or two, so around like when COVID hit, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm kind of starting to get fine with it. But then there's this friend of me called Jor. He's a DJ and he's like starting out to produce, so you should really check him out. Socials will be in the link in the bio. But yeah, I've been joining him on gigs ever since it was allowed again here in the Netherlands, and he really like got that spark back into me. We started making like music for fun again. We went to a couple of parties, and yeah, that spark has been kind of like lighting back up to me again. So I probably want to incorporate some more music stuff into Dreadlabs very soon. I've been doing like music stuff as a hobby now. I've picked it back up by like buying some analog synthesizers. So that's been really fun. But yeah, I really want to do something else with a completely new genre. I've never been really into techno up until like lately. So I might want to go and make a techno alias for myself, see if I can get that going. But yeah, again, it will probably be mostly as a hobby, and I need to find the time to like really dive into it some more. But yeah, I'm kind of like seeing if I can get back into it. So then we get two questions which kind of like correlate one another. So the first one is from Zhao, a really loyal member of the Dreadlabs community, and the other one is from NT17, which is also a very talented designer. So they ask, what's next for Dreadlabs and the top 5 goals I have at the moment. So I will probably like list my top 5 goals, and then that's also probably what's next for Dreadlabs. So number 1 is getting settled into the office. Basically getting a recording studio set up, an office where I can have someone work with me on Dreadlabs, so I can divide the workload a little bit, do more direction-based work instead of like doing all the dirty work myself, I guess. So basically video editing, designing, I really like doing that, but if I keep doing that, Dreadlabs wouldn't be able to grow as much as if I invest more time in letting Dreadlabs grow. So yeah, that's the first thing. So the second thing is getting the clothing brand live. So there was a minor setback in where I had to change the name of the clothing brand of Dreadlabs due to some trademark reasons. But I changed the name to Dread Universe, and so as of this month, the starting clothing brand series will continue. So I really hope to getting the clothing brand back up online. I have some ideas for a couple of videos very soon, and I hope to go live in the beginning of 2022. Number 3 is probably getting more stuff done in the music section of Dreadlabs. And what I mean by that is I want to release some sample packs for producers, presets, also some music tutorials and live streams, as well as some live jams. See if I can teach you a thing or two about analog synthesizers, as I'm pretty new to it myself, so it might be interesting to see how a noob would kind of like dive into that. So yeah, number 3 is definitely getting more music content out there. So number 4 kind of correlates with number 1, but I want to have more physical stuff with Dreadlabs. And what I mean by that is I want to see if more Dutch people are interested in being part of the Dreadlabs community, networking with people that I can see in real life. I love you guys and I love every single person that's subscribed to my channel, a member of the Discord, following me on Instagram, what doesn't matter. But I would really like to get out of the house every once in a while, but still doing Dreadlabs stuff. So yeah, that would be really nice. And what I mean by that is like what I talked about earlier, so doing some network kind of stuff, maybe even do a couple of pop-up events, stuff like that, that would be really cool, but yeah, we'll see. I don't really have a concrete like goal for that yet, but I want to do something more. But I want to do something more with Dreadlabs in real life. And goal number 5 is probably something that also like correlates with the rest of them, and that's that I want to do more physical stuff in general for myself. So not really like being in a network or whatever, but I want to draw more on paper. I want to like do graffiti tags in real life, you know, I want to paint. I want to do like physical art a little bit more, making more videos for you guys. I did a video a while ago making a custom streetwear crew neck. I painted it myself and I did some embroidery. So yeah, stuff like that is something that I really like to do. Not necessarily making something for you guys, but just doing it on video, so to inspire you guys to not sit behind your laptop all day. Also doing something physical. That's basically what Dreadlabs is all about, you know, getting all of those creative like vibes and tendencies and just put them all together in one place. Dreadlabs. You know, it's not just a graphic design channel, it's not a music channel, it's not a clothing channel. It's basically about all of these creative tendencies that we like to have and seeing if you can combine the two and maybe even make a career out of it for yourself. Alright, so where the F is Lewis is asking, do you recommend studying graphic design in school or learning alone can be enough? Actually, I did a video about this completely because I have a bachelor in communication and multimedia design. From what I've heard from everyone that I know that's like done a design related studies is that if you want to learn something specifically, you have to go to learn it yourself. There are definitely like some fundamentals that you can learn on school which will be probably useful, and that will also probably make you learn how to be a professional in the professional work field. That being said, I don't think that it is 100% necessary to go to design school to be a good designer. Yeah, if you want to learn more about it, here's the video, you can click on it, and hope you enjoy. Alright, so Hellbat Designs, I hope I pronounced that correctly. What are various products that Dreadlabs style graphics can be used for commercially? So the main thing commercially, I think what has been really hot in the Dreadlabs style is merchandise. You know, you see a lot of artists that didn't really have that aesthetic at first, starting to sell or release merchandise with the same visual aesthetic as that we in our community mostly use. So yeah, our stuff is not exactly like UX UI designing, you know, it's more of a specific niche, and I think that it can be really focused on the music industry or the clothing industry in general. From a commercial perspective, I would definitely say seeing if you can do some merchandise or album covers or anything music related, but you can also take a look at YouTubers or something, you know, maybe there's like a podcaster or whatever and he needs to like have an animated overlay for his video series or whatever. But yeah, it really depends on how far you go with your own creative freedom, and definitely because it's commercial, you have to find that perfect balance between like practical usability and like aesthetically pleasing. So yeah, it's a hard balance to find sometimes, but if you balance it out correctly, you will find that you can use this style commercially in a lot of different ways. Right, Flick's Perspective is asking, from where did you get the idea about Dreadlabs and where do you see Dreadlabs in the future? Love your works. Thanks, man. I'm like hesitating on making a video about the origin of Dreadlabs because a lot of people have been asking me about it, either on Instagram or on like live streams and stuff like that, and maybe it's nice to have them reference to like a video explaining the whole thing from the start to end. So we're gonna skip the Dreadlabs in the future part because I really already talked about that in the goals. Around like 2018, I was like kind of feeling depressed about like not being able to continue to pursue my musical career and having to choose between design and music. and clothing and, you know, being creative in general, I felt like I only have so much time and I cannot spend it on all of those things and be successful at all of them. I need to pick one, and that was really hard on me mentally, and that got me feeling like depressed, and I had like a nervous breakdown in about the beginning of 2019 because I didn't really know where to go from here career-wise. I knew I quit school for 6 months. I really wanted to get my degree, but I wanted to still like take some time for myself in these 6 months, you know? So the name comes from the word dread, as in fear, and labs as in, you know, a laboratory or exploring. Basically, I wanted to explore darker aesthetics in music, in design, and in art, in clothing, to express myself, and I wanted to research what effect that would have on me and my purpose in life, you know, not knowing whether to pursue either of these creative purposes like music or design. Basically, the idea that I got was like, there must be more people like feeling the same way like me, you know, like a lot of designers I know also make music or used to make music. A lot of musicians that I know also know how to design. A lot of people that have their own clothing brand have their own clothing brand because they can design. A lot of artists that like make their own music also make their own merchandise. So I was like, you know, these creative practices overlap so much, and how is there no way for me to pursue all of them in one go while also having a career? And that's when I came up with Dreadlabs, and the initial idea wasn't even like that I wanted to do this commercially, but I just wanted to share this with everyone, you know, like I wanted to have a platform for myself where I could talk about music one day, and the next day just do a design, and then on the next day, you know, talk about like starting a clothing brand or you know, sharing brands or whatever. And I feel like I just couldn't find it myself. So I was like, why didn't I start it? You know, I probably have the skills to set up a website and to do like design stuff, edit videos. I knew how to do all of that. So yeah, I just started working, and this is probably sounds really weird, but I was really happy that the lockdown firstly came. Like looking back at it, I could use a little bit less lockdown, obviously. Around the time when like COVID hit in 2020, I was already going back to school again, but I had to travel, I think around 3 hours a day, you know, to get there and go back to my house. So basically these 3 hours a day, I just suddenly had back. And the way that I used them was to create the first Dreadlabs content. And I think it was like the Dread Shapes Volume 1 and the Dread Renders Volume 1. So 2 asset packages for designers, 1 sample pack for producers, and I think 1 or 2 tutorial videos, and also a podcast episode with my boy Jack that never came out. Also, I had a time lapse on how I painted a jacket. So I kind of had a little bit of content, and then I was just determining, okay, how should I brand Dreadlabs? What should it look like? You know, I wanted to get it right in one go. And I think in around April, I just talked to myself and I said, okay, now I have to drop this because otherwise it's never gonna happen. And that's when I posted the first Dreadlabs tutorial and started Dreadlabs Instagram feed. And well, looking back at it now, like a year and a half later, I think it's safe to say that there was a lot of people feeling the same way like me, or, you know, maybe not, you know, maybe you're all graphic designers and just, you know, watching my channel only for the design content. But there was definitely like people wanting to be part of a community like this. And in the meantime, what I really like is that there have been other communities popping up which are really nice. For example, the Album Art Archive community and the Sticky Design community by Jesse Nyberg. So it's so cool to see that all of these designers and creatives are uniting in like these places. And I think COVID kind of made that happen. And what I like is that I have this platform for myself where I can do whatever with it creatively, and, you know, being able to talk to it with people. And I think that's the cool solution to my initial problem why I started Dreadlabs is I finally have a community to share my passion with, and without any restrictions whatsoever. So yeah, that's basically how Dreadlabs popped up, and yeah, what's happening right now. Long story, but yeah, I'm so glad we're here, and I cannot wait where it's going in the future. My friend Archfiend is asking any tips on how to manage freelancing in college. I probably have a few because I used to freelance when I still was in college. I only graduated this January, so not even a year ago. And I've been freelancing for like 4 years now or something, 5. So one that I really like myself, and this can be super toxic if you're not into it, but also super useful if you are into it. And that is like, it depends on COVID obviously, but like I just talked about earlier, I had to travel about 3 hours a day, and you know, I would just sit in the train for an hour, you know, using my MacBook to, you know, do these small revisions that my clients would send me. So if you have like a short amount of time somewhere, you know, if you're waiting on the bus or, you know, sitting in a train or whatever, I would use that time to do the smaller things, you know, like answering emails, small revisions, color proposals, something like that. And then like when you get home or from school, make a planning for yourself. So say, okay, I'm gonna work on uni for 2 hours now, and after those 2 hours, I'm gonna do 2 hours of freelancing. And then afterwards, I'm gonna take a break for a minute. And if I need to do anything else for, I don't know, college, get another hour for college. So yeah, really get that time management in there. You don't have to do it in an agenda digitally. It's also really nice to like write it down on a paper, which brings me to another tip, and that is making to-do lists. Even if it's just answering an email, just write it down in a notebook. Just like answer this client's email or whatever, and just make a checkbox for it. Get it all out of your head and get it on paper. And that's just the biggest stress reliever ever. My biggest recommendation. You should really do this. Also, if you want to learn more about creative time management, I have a video on it. Here. So Jambalaya, I hope I pronounced that correctly. How did you decide on your unique style? I'm just gonna say this right now, I don't think my style is that unique. I think I combine a lot of different styles from a lot of talented people around me. Not saying I'm trying to copy them, but I'm trying to, work with the aesthetic. Obviously, like nothing is ever new, like most of the designs that you see nowadays in our community are inspired by a lot of things from the zeros. That's why it's obviously called Y2K logos and stuff like that. So I wouldn't say that I invented anything or, that is my unique style, but I think this style of design is so popular to me personally, of course, because it derives a lot from the stuff that I've been seeing when I was little. Like one of my most viewed YouTube videos is redesigning a Yu-Gi-Oh card. Yu-Gi-Oh was such a big thing when I was young, and these anime series and these like hit toys, like they already had that certain aesthetic, which was super cool, and like what I really liked about him was like, okay, just slap lightning and explosions and tattoos and tribal stuff, do all of those cool things and just slap them one on top of one another, and then that gets you something. And I feel like that's just what our aesthetic is nowadays, like that super technical stuff. So yeah, I think that's at least what inspires me the most. Also a good tip for if you want to inspire yourself, see where it comes from. It's one thing to save up an Instagram post with a cool design, but that design is probably inspired by something from an earlier time. And what better way to inspire yourself with something that like originated in the 90s or whatever, See if you can really go back. So see if you can find inspiration in stuff from the actual time period that your design that you liked is inspired of, if that makes sense. All right, so now we get to the Discord questions. My homie Cancer the Crab is asking, how do you know when someone that messaged you is legit about work? Okay, this is a very easy way to determine this. So you know that someone isn't serious about work if they ghost you the second they see your rates. I get ghosted probably around 10 times a week asking me for my rates. There's people that have it way worse, I think. Also, very easy way to do it is if you get a DM on Instagram that asks you for a commission, send them to your email. If they aren't even bothering to send you an email, they're not serious about the work as well. Sometimes they ask you how much for a logo or how much for an artwork. So if they cannot even share more details about the work they need to get done, that's also where I think, okay, are you really serious about this, So yeah, the first thing you ask them if they are just asking you something in DMs is if they can put it on email, if they want to specify what kind of work, what it is inspired by, and don't even talk about your rates yet. If they cannot answer these first two properly, then they're probably not serious about work. There might be some exceptions, but yeah, I hope that answered your question. All right, so the next one is about outdated. So this was a response to a question that he sent earlier. I asked him if he could specify something, but his question is how to reach bigger clients the other way than of networking. And that's a fairly difficult question because basically talking to anyone business-wise is considered networking to me, I guess. Let's say that you really want to do like this flyer, poster, or album cover for a band that you really like. The first thing to do is probably seeing them play somewhere live and seeing if you can get in touch with them. The thing is, you just have to start from the bottom. You cannot just walk up to like, I don't know, Coldplay and ask them if you can do their designs. So what really helped out for me was working for an artist that was signed to the same label as a bigger artist, and then seeing if the label is interested in working with you as a designer. And then if you start working for the label, they'll start to give you their bigger artists to design to as well, So that's the way I kind of work myself upward. And then when I was a DJ and I want to have like more bookings or I want to have my demos like listened to by some bigger artists, what I would do is seeing if I could play like an opening gig at a party that they would play at, and then just staying a little bit longer than after you're playing, and then seeing if the artists come in. And if they're nice enough and if you're like vibing with them, don't approach like them all aggressively, like like demanding that you have their demos listened to. But if they are like into it, you have to kind of like read them You can always ask, like, if it's okay, can I send you a demo on email sometime, or or do you want to listen to it right now? But yeah, this is very important. Don't be aggressive about it, and don't be pushy. That's very, very important, you know? They're doing you a favor by listening to it, I guess. So yeah, I hope that answered your question. All right, so the next question is from YouTube, from Said the Music Guy. I hope I pronounced your name correctly as well. What makes a design stand out when you see it in your IG feed or whatever? Thanks for the banger content, you're criminally underrated. Thank you so much. Something that I personally really like about designs, and probably also the first like designs, like when I look at them, that I like swipe for details or zoom in, is super intricate, detailed designs. And I don't mean like, okay, like put everything into one design, but you know, getting the details right and not just slapping a Y2K logo on a texture and doing some cool colors, because you know, that doesn't, like I've seen that like 100 times already. But yeah, you're seeing it incorporated into a whole full design or whatever. Also seeing it in the real world, I guess. And that's, for example, let's say you've done like an album cover. I would love to see what it would look like if you would printed it out. I would love to see what the social assets would look like. I would love to see what any other ads would look like. And then it doesn't have to be real life, you know, you can just also work with mockups, but you know, I would love to see the optimal presented way of your design and different versions, I guess. And this probably is gonna sound a little bit mean, but it's probably the same for you if you're a designer. But you can really like tell when a design is being done like in a lazy way, you know, like you can just tell when it's done for an Instagram post. And again, I know this sounds mean and I don't mean to be mean, but that's just when I scroll further, you know, like I don't stop to look at a design that's being done lazy, and you can pretty much see that really quickly. So there are a couple of designers where it's always like super detailed, you know, you can just see that there's time put into it, and those people are always the same people that I will never skip a post on, you know. If I see them in my feed, I always swipe and zoom in and like it, you know. But yeah, so I would say make sure that you can see that there's time put into it. Just for the record, I myself am also guilty of doing lazy designs, you know. I have to make social assets for every day of the week for Dreadlabs, so yeah, sometimes there is a design that's gonna be done lazy. And again, that's not a bad thing necessarily, it's just something that doesn't stand out to me. So yeah, I hope this answered your question, man. Alright, so the last question is from That Lettuce Though, mate. Hi Tom, first I want to say thank you for your content, it really inspires me to do a lot of things. I'm wondering how to promote your designs, which platform besides Instagram should a beginner artist use, any personal tips that you can share with us. Alright, so what I really like about this is that the standard for designs is on Instagram now, and it never was that way, I guess. What could really help you stand out is if you do Behance projects, and what I talked about earlier with the detailed designs and the multiple applications of your design. Every Behance post always has that like detail, you know, you can see that there's multiple applications of the design, there's a little bit of context, sometimes a little bit of a case study as well, and that's something that I really, really like, and it also helps you get more intricate projects, and it also makes you seem a little bit more professional. So yeah, I would definitely recommend seeing if you can get into the Behance community. If you are a designer, it's probably also smart to join some Discord servers, see if you can get some feedback so you can become a better designer. There's also probably always like a promo thing there where you can share your own links. But yeah, then again, I don't think a lot of people actually click on those promo links. They mainly just post their own links. I would look into Behance and Dribbble because those platforms are like, in my opinion, they look a little bit more professional when sharing your portfolio compared to an Instagram page. Alright guys, thank you so much for... I seem to have gone over one question that I didn't have yet, and that's how to make spaghetti carbonara at home from scratch. Alright, so let's dive into that one. Right, so the first thing you want to go do is see if you can find your ingredients. The way I find my ingredients is on takeaway.com. Alright, so this website leaves you with a couple of options where you can get the best assets for your own pasta carbonara. And the best thing of all is that these are complete actions. You don't even have to assemble it yourself. Just one click, pay for it, and there is your pasta carbonara, man. So yeah, guys, again, thank you so much for the 30k subscribers. If you still have any questions left, leave them down in the comments and I'll try to answer them. Also, for the people that asked questions in this video, if my answer wasn't clear or thorough enough, feel free to leave a comment down below and I'll elaborate. With all of that being said, I want to thank a special group of people for supporting me through all of this, and that is my patrons. So if you don't know, if you become a patron of mine, you get access to all of the premium content from Dreadlabs, which includes a lot of project files, exclusive videos, as well as a 15% discount in my asset web store and an exclusive Discord room. So yeah, shout out to my patrons. If you want to become one, there's a link in the description. With all of that being said, thank you so much for watching. This was Tom from Dreadlabs tuning out, and I'll see you guys in the next video.